Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again for another episode of the Q&A. Please excuse me just staring at the screen for a few seconds because I had this weird message up there. And thank God that somebody said you're live, and it's our good friend Dave Schofield in the comments. So I just wasted 30 seconds of your time. I'm going to go ahead and give it back to you with an episode of the Q&A. It's a live show, and this is a show that Dave Schofield came up with the idea to do as a regular show in the off season. But we did the Q&A. Actually, Tony Defio and I used to do a Q&A section when we were doing the Hangover years ago. So it's the love child of me and Dave Schofield, I guess. But with that being said, we are here to talk about Week 14, Steelers v. Ravens. Steelers at Ravens. The Puke Bowl. The Toilet Bowl. Whatever you want to call it. And it's weird to have two 6-6 teams and have both fan bases complain about it. I was in Sam's Club today, and I was looking at a guy wearing the Salute for Service Ravens green hoodie. And I was looking at it, he goes, "Can I help you?" And he worked there. He was an employee. And I said, "No, I was just looking at your sweatshirt. I'm hoping you're unhappy about right around this time tomorrow because your team sucks." And and he's like, "Yeah, boy, they do." And we spent 5 minutes. I'm not joking with you. 5 minutes discussing our teams and arguing who had the worst football team. Usually we'd be arguing over, it was all good natured, but usually it would be arguing over our team's better. This is this, but no. He's like, the guy looked at me and said, I'm just wondering if he went to that same massage parlor as Justin Tucker because he knows things are going down soon. I'm like, I don't really think that's it, but hey, Baltimore, you be Baltimore. There you go. All right, it's so great to see so many good names in here. I love it. I love the fact that as frustrated as everybody is, from Afton, from Kathy, from 4TL Music, from M. Blamble, from Helter Skelter, from No Limit to Key 40, from Pickens, You Big Dummy, from Dave Schofield, from at John 331. Hey, John, did you hear the story I did last week? I did your story because it was the 25th anniversary of it last week. So I did the Cincinnati Stuck on the Roof. Claude Bishop, my man, will the Steelers win another game this year? Yeah, Claude, I think they're going to. They're going to do just enough to pull us back in for a little bit, then pull out the rug from underneath us. That's what they're going to do to us. And I really think that. I think this team has 2 more wins in them. I don't know if they've got 3 to be over 500. And that is my first question to you. Helter Skelter says it right. They're a tease. And by the way, Claude Bishop gives us $2. And I really appreciate that. So I'll bring him up on the screen. Thank you so much. Yeah, you know what? I really think they're going to. I don't think they're a lose-out team. Desmond Barnes, 2220. What do you think has to happen for the Steelers and Tomlin to part ways? The first thing that has to happen is 2025 has to end. That's it. Then there's a discussion. The Steelers, and I'm telling you, this is not me endorsing anything. This is just me saying, Steelers are not going to fire him. They don't want to fire him. And if they feel that they want him to go, they are going to have a conversation. A lot like, I don't know if you saw Darius Slay's comments. Darius Slay was like, hey, Mike brought me in the office and we had a man-to-man talk. And we both agreed that it would be better for both of us to move on. First class, I'm not going to go ahead and say anything bad about him, said Slay. Sorry, can't call him Darius. So, that's the conversation that the Steelers and the Rooneys will have if they really want it to happen. I'm going to go ahead and Dave Schofield and I had a conversation last week after the show when we were very frustrated. And I've been saying some things that I normally don't say, but I'm getting to believe that this has become too stubborn of a situation. And so I am not opposed to change like I was before. And Dave kept on saying, it's like in the past, his question was, who are they going to bring in? Now, that's not the question anymore. Because you're looking at, look what's happening in Chicago. Chicago's beaten. We were trying to say that, hey, they don't, we're trying to say that they don't, they haven't beaten anybody. But here's the thing. Now that they beat Philadelphia, and I know Philly's not as good as they were last year, but they still could go to the Super Bowl. So Dave was saying, he's like, look, probably what needs to happen realistically for the Steelers to part ways is for Art to step down and make way for Dan. I believe I don't know whether whether he's considered Dan the second, Dan Jr., but Dan is in line now. And he's aggressive. And if I'm not mistaken, the younger Daniel Milton Rooney, by the way, rest in peace. I was at a Rick Astley concert when I found out that Dan Rooney died, and my wife was trying to make sure that nobody told me. It ruined the rest of the ruined the rest of the concert for me. Then I put something out on Facebook, R.I.P. Art Rooney, I mean Dan Rooney, and he thought I meant somebody different. And he's like, yeah, that happened months ago. Way to go. Not knowing your stuff. Somebody put that on Facebook, trolling me. I'm like, yeah, he just died. You clown. I was so mad that somebody was stepping on my grief. But I digress. Dan, if I'm not mistaken, was the guy that was scouting at North Carolina. And there were two, I think Cadillac Williams was one of the guys, Carnell Cadillac Williams. They were looking at it, North Carolina. And I think it wasn't, that was too late for too early for Giovanni Bernard. I think there was another one from North Carolina that was pretty good at that time. And Dan Michael Rooney, as Dave Schofield puts it, is the one who is next in line. Dan was the one who found Willie Parker. And Willie Parker's stats his senior year were you would not dare draft him. But he found him, he saw something in him, and you don't have that great memory of 75 yards and a record that still stands for a rushing touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it still stands. So that was a big deal. And I really, Helter Skelter says, Dan Michael, save us. And here you go. I mean, he could be the guy that you're hoping for. I do want to caution everybody when they say it's the Rooneys, it's the Rooneys. No. I get crazy when everyone says sell the team. You don't need the Rooneys need to continue being there, but you need to have a more aggressive Rooney. And that's it. Yes, at Mark Cunningham, FWP was a free agent in that 2004 season, and he looked really good in the preseason, especially had a nice run against the Eagles. And then he got to play the last 2 games after they clinched. And also you got to see a lot of James Harrison. So you got to see a lot of their future the last 2 games of that 2004 season, because that was a 15-1 season. Afton, there needs to be less focus on doing more with less, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Dave says Dan Michael Rooney is only like 35. He was a backup QB at Dartmouth, I think. Then who's the guy that found Willie Parker? Because that would have been 21 years ago. Okay, we've got to look at it, because I don't think he was a 14-year-old scout. Maybe I'm wrong. There's a lot of Rooneys. Man, I've been talking so much, and there's a lot of questions here, and I appreciate it. And it is your show, but Desmond Barnes asked, what do you think has to happen for the Steelers and Tomlin to part ways? Well, it's a time thing. And there's a part of me, and somebody told me this, and there's a part of me that thinks that Tomlin sticks around just because he knows he's safe, and he also is in a situation where he doesn't care. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't care about football. He doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. In a way, I admire it, but I don't believe he cares how dismayed the Steelers fans are. And that's what I got. I thought those were very hollow comments last week. Oh, I'm just as frustrated as you are. When they said, what do you think about the fire me chants? There you go. Here we go. John, I loved it. Thank you so much. And that is about my story. And check out last week's show when I talk about it. I believe it was the preview last week, because it was the 25th anniversary of me getting stuck on the roof at halftime during a Steeler game, and me trying to do a John McClane Die Hard and jump off with an extension cord around me, and then I got scared. So he said, thank you so much. Just like watching your favorite Christmas movie. Just need to hear it every year to get in. Oh my gosh. This is hilarious. He meant to say Christmas spirit, but I got to bring this up. This is really funny. And nobody knows until I tell you why this is funny. My ex-wife, her name was Crystal, spelled Christal. And she's the one who came home and saved me. She was actually born on the 25th of December. That's why she was named that. But it's my gosh, that is a hilarious typo. My goodness, that's really funny. And I know that was just a typo, but that's very ironic to me. Afton Forrid, does MVS get much playing time this week? I don't know. Yeah, I really don't. You would think so. Does Adam Thielen get a hat? Which I don't know. I would think. I think if you're going to unwrap a toy, even if you bought it at the thrift shop, you should play with it. That's just my opinion. 4TL, man, I have been a fan of FTL, 4TL for a long time. Man, he's been here since the beginning with me. Bad as much as they make me angry, I'm hoping MVS and Thielen can generate more offense. And why is Clark starting over Peppers? Peppers is banged. He's banged up. He's there, but I don't know how healthy he is. That's what I'm thinking. The nice thing about Chuck Clark is he's a hitter. He was a hitter in Baltimore, and he's a hitter here. The one thing that's going to suck is not having Duggar, because I'm telling you, Kyle Duggar right now has turned into one of the stars on that defense, to the point where I think he is one of the Steelers that is playing at, not many are, but I feel like he's actually playing at a Pro Bowl level. Afton, firing him at this point in the season, being Tomlin, won't do any good for this season anyway. Yeah, it doesn't. But it might signal a sea change. Dave Schofield, I've heard of him. Dave Schofield, 5431. I gotta find out what that 5431 means. Is it LJ Fort? And who's a good 31, an obscure 31? It can't be Donnie Shell. There's a fifth. Was there a Cromartie that played for? There's a really there's a 2015 fifth round draft pick. No, not 2015, 2013. He wore. I gotta figure out who this guy was. 2013 Steelers draft. I know he was the fifth round pick of the Steelers, and he wore number 31. He didn't stick around long. Was it Terry Hawthorne? No. I might have been Terry Hawthorne, but that's not the guy I'm thinking of. Maybe it's a different year, but I digress. That doesn't matter. M. Blamble, any quarterback prospects for next season? Have you paid attention to any coming in the draft? I will tell you this. Mendoza of Indiana, who's playing right now against Ohio State, number 1 versus number 2. It's a 10-6 game as we speak. Ohio State in the lead. He's an interesting prospect. I just think he's going very high in the draft. There is the kid from Oregon that a lot of people like. There is, I think the stock has dropped for Lenora Sellers from South Carolina, but I'm not really sure. There are some guys there. I could imagine, because of his injury, Drew Allers going to fall to like the 4th or 5th round. And even with his injury, even though I'm a Penn State fan, I know I went to Pitt. I'm a fan of both. But I can honestly say that I wasn't really looking for him to go to the Steelers. I just didn't really believe in him as much. There's Nussmeier at LSU. He's a guy that I would actually look at. Dante Moore's the guy from Oregon who I like a lot as well. Where are they going to come up? I don't know. But you've got Ty Simpson. He's actually ranked high out of Alabama as well. I don't know how it's going to shake up. I just don't think it's nearly as sexy as it was first thought. I will tell you a guy that's hurt that I really like as well. I thought would be great for the Steelers was Sam Levitt out of Arizona State. Also coached, not as a quarterback coach, but coached by Heinz Ward, who is an offensive assistant there. Of course, I like Carson Beck as well. He's fallen quite a bit, as has Cade Klubnik. That's a Cade Klubnik, excuse me. That's a great name. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We have so many questions to go ahead and look at, and let's be back right after this. This is the Q&A, and this is the Steel Curtain Network. I guess we should have music to go into the break, so let's do that. We'll be back right after this. Stick around. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening to those advertisements. My name is Brian Anthony Davis. This is the Q&A. Jeremy Betts is still with us. He's taking a sabbatical, so you will have me on the Q&A for the time being, and I enjoy being here. It's so much fun to get back to my my roots. Afton Forred, she says, Dan Jr. is son of Dan Rooney, is what Uncle Google says. Well, you definitely have to listen to Uncle Google. That's really funny. I like that, Uncle Google. Really entertaining to me. Darkstorm 1, they should hire me to run the team. I'll buy football for dummies the next day, Darkstorm says. All right, that's really funny. I still have to find that comment, that who was the one who scouted. If anybody's talking to Uncle Google, find out who was scouting Fast Willie Parker. Because I'm confused now. I always thought it was Dan. 4TL, if they got rid of Terrell Austin today, what coach on the team would be interim DC? You know, I could honestly say that I would actually say maybe Gerald Alexander, the defensive back coaches. Wow, Indiana, I think they just took the lead. They did. Touchdown, Indiana, in the third with, can't really see. Is that 2 seconds left in the third or 8:02? I don't have my glasses on. Well, hold on a second. Oh my gosh, I look old. I look like Morty Seinfeld with these glasses on. That's not a good thing. But sweet Mendoza, who I was just talking about, what a great pass. That was sweet. 8:02 left in the third. Indiana about to have an extra point. I got to take the Morty Seinfeld glasses off. Those are, my gosh, I look 80. All right, let's go ahead and keep it going here. Keep on getting those questions in. But yeah, I would say my question of that was possibly Gerald Alexander. Dunbar's still around, right? That's what I think. Helter Skelter says, why can't we draft guys like Duggar? You know what? You're going to yell at me here. I really think I don't agree with like everybody else. I do not subscribe to the Steelers can't draft cornerbacks. The Steelers can't draft Jalen Ramsey's because Jalen Ramsey, I think, went 3rd or 5th overall. I think I don't think you want a corner. I don't think you're going to get a good corner at 25. Now, I realize that the Chiefs got a really good corner right after the Steelers either picked, no, it wasn't Najee. After they picked Kenny Pickett, I believe. They got a really good one there. But Mike Logan was not a draft pick of the Steelers. He was a draft pick of the Jaguars, a second rounder. Desmond Barnes. This is a great question, Desmond. Am I wrong for hoping they lose every game to get Tomlin out of here? I don't even, I'm telling you, Desmond, I don't even know if that does it. I will tell you this, everybody who thinks those media matchmakers that have everybody sending Mike Tomlin to the New York Giants, Mike Tomlin is not going to go to New York. And the reason he's not going to go to New York, if he hates the media in Pittsburgh, he can't, he won't deal with the media in New York. I mean, people want him traded, and Robert Whitney, I'm with you. Trade him for more draft capital. I'd love to have the draft capital, but I just don't. I was looking at a proposed trade for Tomlin. They would still have to give up the proposed trade that everybody's saying. If it's anything like what Denver had to pay for Sean Payton, if they did that New York trade, they would still give up they would be swapping number 1 picks. And then get like a number 2 or a number 3 next year? What's the sense of that? That's not, you used to be able to get a first 1 year and a first the next year. Also, John, you're one of my favorites, but Ross Cockrell was not a draft pick of the Steelers as well. Did he get drafted to, who actually picked him? Was it the Lions? But he was out of Duke. Donnie Shell, they did not draft. Afton, they brought him in. But there you go. Dave says those numbers are randomly assigned by YouTube. I don't even know about it until I type stuff in the live chat. Then people are talking about trading for Cam. I just don't see that happening. Our good friend Tom plays games. Tom Muir, can this team make a run all of the 05 team? Thanks for what you all do. Hopefully I'm super chatting again tomorrow. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. And I believe if you're super chatting tomorrow, hopefully you're giving up $7. A run's possible, but I still think the locker room is disillusioned. And I'm wondering, I really think Baltimore is not a good team either right now. And Lamar, and it's not because he's Lamar, it's because Lamar is playing hurt. Lamar could stick a dagger in you at any time. Even hurt, he could reel off a run, but right now, he's not even attempting it. And that's something that Dave and Jeff told me the other day, and I agree with them. Wasn't thinking that. Yeah, Cockrell was not drafted by the Steelers. I will tell you that. They were looking at him. Robert Whitney, you think that Omar should be on the hot seat? I don't. Because if you look at Omar's drafts, I don't think that Omar didn't draft Kenny Pickett. Who did Omar bring in here as a number 1 pick? Now, Broderick Jones, they had to trade up to get Broderick Jones. They had to go ahead. And one of the reasons that the Patriots were glad to trade, because they were still able to get their guy that they wanted to, who they wanted to get, but they also wanted to screw the Jets. But hindsight is 2020, but everybody thought Broderick was going to be worth it at the time. So say what you want about, now I complain all the time about JPJ getting hurt every single game, but at least he comes back in. But I think he's doing much better. Omar traded up He traded up to get Darnell Washington. He had the foresight to bring in Peyton Wilson the next year. Troy Fautanu, is anybody complaining about Troy Fautanu? Is anybody really complaining about Zach Frazier right now? So I just don't think it's an Omar thing. I think Omar's hamstrung. And as Dave likes to say, I'm giving Dave credit, Omar has nothing to do with the coaches. He has no hiring decision when it comes to a coach. That is Art Rooney too. That's it. DK Storm, top QBs are generally gone by late teens, early 20s. Aller was supposed to be coming out this year, Afton. But here's the question that I want to ask everybody. What are you rooting for tomorrow? Are you in the camp wanting them to lose, not just for a higher draft pick, but to lose so Tomlin could possibly get fired, which I don't. I think he goes on his own accord. And that's a decision that they make sitting down. It's like, hey, it would be better for both of us. I think just like Chuck Noll, no one's going to, if you listen to Bad Language the other day, I talked about where these coaches rank, and Mike Tomlin is right now ranked 11th. And he needs 3 wins to get into the top 10. And pretty soon he is going to pass. He is so close to passing Chuck Noll. He is 10 wins away from passing Chuck Noll. Will he do it as a Steeler? I don't know. But the thing about it is the message is stale. It's not working right now. And that's the big problem. Claude Bishop says, and he's talking to Kathy, I would trade Watt for a second or third as long as they took the whole contract. I get it. I heard that. I hear you there, because the contract, what happened to let's move him around? Darkstorm 1, we do have lots of trade capital. However, I'm anxious to see where those compensatory picks are. You should be fine with the Justin Fields pick. You should be fine with the pick. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting Dan Moore Jr.'s name? I think you should be good with that one too. The Russell Wilson pick, you're not going to be fine with. Afton is, by the way, helping me out here. Dan Jr. is the one who scouted Parker, found him in high school, and followed him through college. Maybe he was. Kathy! I didn't see the original quote, if they're asking, but Bad just hit puberty, needs a shave, LOL. On Wednesday, yes, this is not the shameless self-promotion for my birthday. Wednesday, I turned 54 years old. And I'm working from home right now, so I just haven't been shaving. But when the mustache gets too much, my wife calls me a cheesy porn star. I shave it. But that's really funny. 4TL, I would offer Flores the DC assistant head coach job. That might be a okay, you're the next man up. Claude Bishop, the Steelers got Ike Taylor in the 4th. Yes, they did. That was probably, and Ike was viewed as a project when they got him. And that was the year Polamalu was number 1. They lost their 3rd round pick because they traded up. And they basically traded Larry Johnson for Palomalu because they traded with the Chiefs. The Chiefs ended up selecting Larry Johnson. And the thought was that the Steelers were going to pick Larry Johnson at that spot, and they would have been able to. But Palomalu was not probably one of the best draft picks I've seen in a long time. And that includes Ben. I love Ben. But Palomalu was a trade up. Get aggressive and go get this guy. Ray Claudio Pino. Steelers have not drafted in top 5 since Bradshaw in 1970 and in the top 10 only a few times. The last time I remember was 25 years ago. And that was getting Plexico Burress at number 8. The next highest has to be Ben at 11. But as far as everything else goes, I think the next highest might have been when they moved up to 14 to get Broderick Jones. Well, no, they did move up to number 10 to get Devin Bush in 19, but they weren't naturally at that spot. Afton says Tomlin would fit better in Atlanta. Good day, mates. You know when Steeler Nation, when Marky D's in the house. It's funny, my daughter is such a Stranger Things fan, and she wanted me to call Marky D to see if he would watch Stranger Things to tell her what happened before, since it would probably air earlier in Australia. And now on Christmas Day, same thing. So, Mark, I might have to be giving you a call to do spoilers for Stranger Things for my daughter. 16-year-old is just so into that show. By the way, I'm loving what they're doing right now. Cockrell. Yes, he was a Bill. That's right, Ray Claudio Pino. Thank you. Marky D says Tomlin is about to go on a 5-game win streak. Hey, I would take it. What would we think? Again, what do you want to happen tomorrow? I want them to win the game. Okay. Oh, and don't listen, Uncle Google. Dan Jr. is R2's brother, and that's what I thought. He was a scout in the North Carolina area in the early 2000s. Yep, and that's what we were thinking. Jones, yes, Tom Jones was Omar's first pick. Mount Washington, I thought that was great. I'm sorry, they did not trade up. Dave's right. He actually traded back and got Washington. That was actually really smart. And then after Washington, they brought in Herbig. And Houter Scouter says this. It's like rooting for my kids to lose. Yeah, you can't. You want... Now, trust me, I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I've rooted for the Pirates to lose because they were so far down, and I was rooting for them when they ended up having the second round pick in 2010, and it was Jameson Taillon, and I wanted Bryce Harper. And they missed out on that by about three games. And they were actually winning in the last couple of weeks of the season. I'm like, why are you doing that? But that's different. Baseball's a little different. And when you have 162 games and they don't give a damn about anything, the Nuttings. I used to work for the Nuttings, by the way. Robert Whitney. If Tomlin leaves, who is the best replacement? I think you go with the guy that at this point, I still don't think he's leaving, but I don't think you go with a retread. And even though he's doing a great job, the number one pick, everybody would have wanted Mike Vrabel. And I know that's working, but for what I'm seeing right now, I love what Jacksonville did. Of course, I'm not a big Ben Johnson fan, but he's good. But I really like Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. I think he's just a breath of fresh air. So I'm going to give you a name. And I said this earlier today. Actually, I said this yesterday to the our Arizona State guy. And a reason I said it to our Arizona State guy is I called him up to find out about Matt Campbell, who's going to Penn State. And Iowa State plays Arizona State all the time. And the one guy I wanted to go to Penn State who did not go because he really didn't put himself in consideration for anything. There's a head coach that almost looks and talks like Pat McAfee without the Yinzer accent. His name's Kenny Dillingham, and I think he's about 34 years old at Arizona State. He is going to be the head coach that everybody is going to be talking about in a couple years, coming from the college ranks. And I would bring in a guy like Kenny Dillingham. They went at 8-4 this year, but they also lost their quarterback, who we talked about a little bit earlier, Sam Levitt. I think he's something special. That's a young guy, and they like bringing in young guys. He's young and fresh, and guess what? If you're bringing Kenny Dillingham, you know who you probably bring back to Pittsburgh as an assistant coach? Hines Ward. Yeah, I could actually see that. So, Robert, right now, I think the best replacement right now is a guy named Kenny Dillingham. I love Dave's comment here. I don't want them to lose, but I want them to play well. I don't want them to win because the Ravens suck worse. I did get the happy belated. Houter Scouter just turned 45. I love it. Mom's puberty comment was referring to your old man glasses. Morty Seinfeld, I'm telling you, if you know Seinfeld, I'm like, it's the, well, what did the man's ear? It's the man's ear. I tell you what, it's a pen that writes upside down. Yeah. That, and I guess the peach fuzz is a little crazy. What was the This is a great question. What was the Steelers-Ravens rivalry like pre-Big Ben, assuming the Browns were more hated, as some fans hate them more now still? Well, I'm glad you asked that, because if you go back to the year 2001, I believe it was 2001 or 2002, there was an almost brawl between Plexico and Hines and the defensive backs. Yeah, they hated each other. Also, if you go back to 2001, the Ravens had 5 field goals and beat the Steelers, who missed. Chris Brown missed about 4 field goals that day. I was in the stands. It was horrible. And then the Steelers clinched in 2001 when Bobby Shaw took a long one to the house. They've hated each other a long time. They really have. It was way before the Brown, but I do want to say this. When the Browns left Cleveland, Steeler fans mourned. And this is why they mourned for Cleveland. Because it scared them, thinking, oh no, could that happen to us? And I might be speaking for you, and you might be thinking that I'm wrong here, and I'm full of it. But seriously, yeah, we were bothered by the whole thing. It was so scary. And we felt bad for them because here's the thing. Cincinnati fans, I hate to say it, are kind of idiots. They're fair weather. I want to take fair weather away. They're just not very knowledgeable. Baltimore fans, and if you think Pittsburgh fans are so down and hate Mike Tomlin, Dave could vouch for this. They're talking about it more in Baltimore with John Harbaugh right now. They talk about firing John Harbaugh the year after he wins a Super Bowl. They are so fair weather. You lose one game, there's they're jumping off buildings there. They jump off that bandwagon so quick. Dave Schofield does, I'm glad he said this. He does a comp pick article at SCN every Thursday. You know, I knew that. Bush at number 10, yep. If the Steelers beat the Ravens, it will ruin my Christmas. I have supported the Steelers since 1961. Now I despise Rooney and the Steelers. Yeah, I get it, because we see something we love and we feel like someone's not taking care of it. All right, I'm embarrassed. My wife is going to laugh at me, but we were watching the Santa Clauses, and that was like a series that came out 2 years ago. Tim Allen, the whole cast from the Santa Claus, is in it. And he decided to retire and go back to Chicago. And they brought in a guy played by the great Cal Penn, who I think is very funny. And so Cal Penn, he is the next Santa Claus, and he decides to make it all corporate and Christmas every day. And he's like a tech guy and wants to be the next Jeff Bezos and guy like that. And everybody bands together, the elves and Tim Allen as Santa Claus band together to oust him. They realized they made a mistake because they saw something that they love just being destroyed. And Robert, I kind of no, I'm sorry, Johnny, I kind of understand. I don't despise art. I'm just like, art, this is not your roots. This is, to me, is this what your dad would have wanted? Oh my gosh, I feel like such a jerk saying this. But this is not honoring your dad. Now, you know what? I really shouldn't say something like that, because I know how close he was to his dad. And I think that's a crappy move. But what I'm saying is it's not in the true spirit of what was intended. And, you know, when you say it's not your father's Oldsmobile, well, sometimes your father's Oldsmobile was so reliable and worked so well. And maybe we should be talking about that again. Also, this Robert Whitney, this is from before, but I just didn't read the second part. I also think Austin and Smith should both be in line to get replaced also. Oh, yeah. You're not. Austin's gone. Austin might even be gone. Dave, if you're still listening, what is his contract? Coaches' contracts are so hard to figure out. But if his contract is running out soon, yeah, I don't expect him to be back. I expect one more year of Arthur Smith, and I don't expect to see him back, because that's how they operate. Maybe Dan Jr. can help us. Steelers Nation Australia, Mark D. I've never seen Stranger Things. However, I'll always accept a call from bad. I'm telling you what, man. You would love Stranger Things. I love it. I think it's great. Willie Palms? That's a great name. That sounds like Willie Palms sounds like a dude that's hanging out with a Rat Pack in Vegas. I'd hate to say it, but lose out and get a better draft pick. It's hard to do, though. I mean, yes, that'd be better. Because think about this. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to 1988. The Steelers won 3 out of their last 4 games. I know Kansas City was one of the teams they beat. Miami was one of the teams they beat. It might have even been Cleveland as one of the teams they beat. But okay, there's all kinds of confusion here. Daniel Michael Rooney is AR2's son. Yes, that's correct. But they won 3 out of their last 4. They had 2 wins going into the last 4 games of that season. And by ending up winning 3 out of your last 4, you ended up with, if I'm not mistaken, either the 8th or 9th pick in the draft. And you also ended up with another draft pick because the Mike Merriweather situation. But when you look at that draft, number 1 was Troy Aikman. Number 2 was a guy who ended up being a bust, but actually had a fairly long career. Actually, but he looked like he was the guy. Green Bay got stuck with Tony Mandarich. He's considered a bust. He had a longer career because he was with the Colts for a while. Then you've got number 3, Barry Sanders. Number 4, Derek Thomas. Number 5, Deion Sanders. All Hall of Famers. 6th was Broderick Thomas for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And at number 7, Tim Worley, running back out of Georgia, who had a nice rookie year, but was never great. But if you look at the guys picked behind Worley, there aren't many superstars there. Steve Atwater was a really good player that went number 20 for Denver. Andre Rison was 22. Steelers ended up picking Tom Ricketts at 24 from Pitt. He didn't work out. That was the last time they had 2 draft picks. Then early on in the second round, with the 34th pick, they picked Carnell Lake. So they actually did well there. But man, if you don't lose those games, you're picking in the Barry Sanders, the Derek Thomas, or the Deion Sanders area. I doubt that they picked Deion Sanders, but they did go defensive back in this draft a couple times. Because remember, you could still, this is the last year that they had, no, it wasn't the last, it was close to the end of the 12 picks. 93 was the last year, if I'm not mistaken. But what I'm trying to say here is you've got, can you imagine Deion Sanders and Rod Woodson in the same defensive backfield? And what if you still bring in linebacker / safety Carnell Lake? Holy gee. Oh my gosh. They'd still be talking about that. But you know, I digress. So but here's the thing. At 6 wins, I could honestly say at 6 wins, Willie Palms, it's kind of tough. You're still not picking that high And they still have they're gonna at least get 7 wins this season. There's another win in there somewhere. But that's the thing. 4TL Music Group mentions Troy Edwards. Edwards was bad. Straight from college bad, that's a big risk. I get it. But I'm telling you, there are those guys coming straight from college that they surprise you. Outer Scepter mentions the bro. It was originally a man's ear. Kramer changes the bro. Seattle was getting ready to take the lead in that Super Bowl. A few plays later, Randall L hit Ward, and it was a wrap. Didn't Cowher credit Shannon Sharp with really getting the hate going again? Yeah, oh my gosh. Shannon Sharp hated the Steelers for a long time. Hated them when he terrorized them when he was with the Broncos. I was at that AFC Championship game. Question of the night: Grinch or Peanuts Christmas? Are you asking about my shirt? It's Grinch. My wife and daughter bought me that last year, and I was just at a holiday spaghetti dinner where I was volunteering, and so I wore that. I had a snowman hat on too. Mark Cunningham, that's factual, sir, regarding Harbaugh. If we win tomorrow, oh boy, Harbaugh has a franchise QB, so that's why he's on the grill. Forget the hot seat. Yeah. Lamar, I'm still telling you, Lamar is not right. And Dave, thank you. Austin's contract is up after this year. There you go. Robert Whitney, I have to agree with you here. I say if they lose to the Ravens tomorrow, I say put Howard in rest of the season to figure out the QB situation. At least try. There's no reason not to. There's really no reason. How about Lake's boy playing well for the LA Rams? I think he's got hurt recently, though. He did, Mark. Andrew Wilbar and Jeremy Betts. I don't know if you remember on The Fix, they actually interviewed Quentin Lake a couple years ago on this very network. Excuse me. They did, and he's a very special player, and they love him in Los Angeles. I do some production for a Rams affiliate, and they absolutely think he is one of the cornerstones of that team. He ended up a draft pick, but there was a lot of thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers, Andrew was talking about the Steelers looking at him late. Afton says, thanks for another great Saturday Night Live. I like that. And with that, I think it's time to get on out of here. Look, this was a lot of fun. I went longer than I was supposed to, but I love just waxing poetic and talking about this. This is a lot of fun for me. If you love football, man, turn on. Thank you for hanging out with me, but go ahead and turn on the Big Ten championship game. There is 4 minutes. I got to go Morty Seinfeld on you. It's 3rd and 8. There's 4:43 left in the game, and Ohio State at 3rd and 8 is trailing 13-10. Don't know, they're on the 40-yard line, like the 39-yard line of Indiana. Go ahead and put that on. I'm going to quit talking so you can go ahead and check this game out. This is shaping up to be just a beautiful game. Oh, they're going with a gadget pass play, and it did not. Oh my gosh. Late of the sticks, but now we've got flags flying, and I think it's on Ohio State. I don't know because I don't have the sound on. All right, I'm going to get on out of here. You guys, yes, Oh my gosh. Big G must be apoplectic. Yep, it's on Indiana. So there's your first down. Illegal block? Uh if you're a fan of IUP, Kurt Signetti, his dad was the head coach of for years. Oh, I see. Ah, gosh. I don't Yeah, that's a tough call. I think you have to call it. But he was the Indiana University of Pennsylvania coach, Western PA in the house. And now Kurt, my dad was his FedEx man. All right, it's time to get on out of here. I love you guys. Man, I enjoyed this show. I talked way too long. Go watch this game. Get rested. Enjoy the Steelers tomorrow. They might surprise you. They really might. And if they do, we're going to be enjoying it. Even though we're mad at them right now, it's hard not to cheer for this team, is it? All right. My name is Brian Anthony Davis. Just when you think you've got all the answers, we keep changing the questions. Good night.